Chat, audience, listeners, whoever is out there, I would like you all to know I nearly threw up in excitement because of this chapter. Let's just get into it before my head pops off. Chapter 1139 is called Mountain Eater, and screw you to the person who made me realize this could be a dirty joke because I could not stop laughing about it. On the cover page we have Who's Who interrogating a captured duo, and by their shadows it seems to look like Alti and Page 1. I'd know that stupid bucket hat anywhere. As we get into the chapter, Luffy and the gang are still strolling around the castle with Rodo as they talk about freeing Loki, but Zoro says they haven't decided if they're going to free Loki or not. Luffy laughs and says Zoro is so strict, and that line interested me, but we'll get to that later. Nami stumbles across a red carpet that leads into the throne room, in which we find a huge pentagram circle in the middle of the room. Nami explains it looks to be a summoning circle, as they use it in ritual demon summoning in other countries. And Rodo freaks out about the possibility of summoning demons. Luffy then says he swears he's seen that mark before, although he can't place what it is. And I now know why Sanji wasn't invited to the castle, because Sanji saw that mark too. He was standing right next to Luffy on Egghead when it happened, and we know that mark was used by the elders to summon their demon forms. I have no doubt in my mind that if Sanji were there, he would have recognized that mark straight away. Suddenly, someone yells Luffy's name. Rodo freaks out on account of him thinking it's a demon, and the voice continues on to say, "I've been hoping to meet you." Rodo makes to escape until an axe is thrown at him, and the Straw Hats come face to face with Mr. Yar. We discover this is Ripley's husband, and that Colin is actually blood related to both Mr. Yar and Ripley. Mr. Yar goes on to say that marrying a giant isn't worth it because the giant stays the same age as a human ages. And I just have to say, I find it so sweet this poor old man just wants to be able to age with his wife. Nami expressed to Mr. Yar how surprised she is that someone has managed to do it. And by do it, well, let's just say, love a mountain. Mr. Yar jumps down to yell that love is free, while explaining there's many mixed races of couples and children in the world, and those who are open-minded exist everywhere. Zoro asks who this crazy old man even is, and Mr. Yar yells that he's the preacher of love, in which Luffy laughs and says that sounds like what Sanji will be when he's older. This is so cute, by the way. I love that Luffy's always thinking of Sanji in the sweetest of ways. Luffy accidentally says they're in the castle to find a key to free Loki, and Mr. Yar yells he loves other people causing trouble. How real of a former pirate to say such a thing. Mr. Yar then asks Luffy what he'll do if Loki causes problems once being freed, and Luffy says he'll beat him up and put the chains back on. That's my boy. As I always say, you cannot take advantage of Luffy. Mr. Yar then tries to explain to Luffy that only Shanks managed to capture Loki, but Luffy just calls him a yapper and ignores him. Some things will never change with Luffy, I'm afraid. And then Mr. Yar thinks about his own past, and we see Roger and Rayleigh, as Roger yells at Rayleigh and Gaban that he's sick of all their warnings, and Gaban tells Roger he just wants him to think of the risks and that he's an idiot. It's so good to see my man Roger and my beautiful wife Rayleigh. I miss them every day. Due to Mr. Yar, Luffy and the gang find a hidden room that contains Loki's key, and he tells Luffy not even the wicked dare to take the key. Mr. Yar then grabs the key and challenges Luffy to take it from him. Back at the party, the giants explain that Roger had another man on his crew who was just as fantastic as him and Rayleigh. This man was so incredible that he took on a whole group of enemy pirates by himself, himself on a mountain with only 2 axes, and once he was done, all the trees had been chopped down. Because of this, he gained the name Mountain Eater, and he was known as the Pirate King's left arm. This man stood shoulder to shoulder with both Roger and Rayleigh, and his name was Scopper Gaban. And so the chapter ends. I am so happy. I'm so happy it's Gaban. I nearly cried in joy at the reveal. I knew it was Gaban, and I knew Gaban would play a role as another Roger pirate Luffy needed to meet. Anyone who was guessing Shiki or was trying to convince me it was Shiki needs to apologize right now. Get that bum out of here. This is about Gaban. It's so interesting to me that Gaban seems to have a strong affiliation with Wano, from the way he dresses all the way to his own manner of speaking and posing, as he poses in the same way as Odin when he says he's the preacher of love. I do wonder what that will mean, but for now I'm guessing he just really appreciated and admired Odin for the time Odin was on Roger's ship. And of course, the parallels with Gaban and Sanji are not going over my head. Luffy even says Gaban has Sanji tendencies. Gaban seems big on love, even yelling that love is free, which is such a beautiful line. And similar to Sanji, he stands as equals to his own crew's captain and right-hand man. Yes, as equals. In saying that, their characters are quite different, because Sanji can be a goofball, but he's definitely a lot more reserved than Gaban is. Although I assume this is because Gaban is just an old man with nothing to lose anymore. God, I hope Sanji can be this happy someday. What I do find interesting is, while it's clear the monster trio mirror Roger's own trio, Roger had a first mate. I always have to explain this, but Luffy doesn't officially nor canonically have a first mate at all. This is making me believe it is possible Zoro could develop into first mate. Or it's possible this is Oda's way of telling us Luffy and his crew simply work differently. After all, Zoro is not Rayleigh. Sanji is not Gaban. These 4 characters have totally different personalities to each other. I mean, I've certainly never seen Zoro express that he likes women the way Rayleigh has. Either way, I wonder what Oda's going to do with that, and I wonder if he's ever going to give any crewmate the label of first mate. Personally, I like the way the Straw Hats function now without that label, so we'll have to wait and see. The other thing is, with Gaban here, this means a new mentor is at the scene. Last time we met one of Roger's crew, it was Rayleigh, and he taught Luffy some incredible things. Whatever the fight with Gaban will be, I'm sure it'll teach Luffy something important, and I'm sure Gaban will teach other Straw Hats important lessons too. However, this is making me think Elbaf will not end with happy spirits, as Rayleigh's arrival certainly didn't end super well for Luffy and his crew. Not to mention, Elbaf already had its feast at the beginning of the arc, and it's making me believe something truly ominous is on the horizon for Elbaf and its eventual ending. The other thing that's interested me here is, as always, Zoro. I keep saying Zoro is my focus this arc, and it keeps being true. I have never heard Luffy call Zoro strict, because he can be strict, but Oda is very good at using Luffy as a character exposition device to make us pay attention to something. In this case, it's Zoro and his uptight attitude right now. He's had this attitude before, as he had in Water 7, but that situation truly called for it. Not to mention he didn't like being that guy. He didn't want Usopp to leave the crew, but someone had to remind Luffy this is a real pirate crew. But right now, this uptight attitude seems to be coming out of nowhere. Luffy isn't tense. Nami isn't tense. Absolutely no one else but Zoro is tense. I think currently Zoro is holding himself up to very high standards he believes he must meet. meet. And I feel we may be on the edge of a Zoro crash out moment. It depends when Zoro gets another fight, and depends how Zoro performs in that fight to see if this is true. But it's possible this is why Gaban is here, because if Zoro does crash out, Gaban would be the perfect person to help him through it. Once again, this is all speculation. Zoro has just been noticeably so much more tense to me since entering Elbaf. Finally, the throne room. We know what this mark is. We know what it means. We know what it does. The question is, who put it there? And how long has it been there? Personally, I think Harold had it there the whole time, and the red rug was covering it. The red rug is even pointed out to us as we enter the throne room, and it's in the exact spot the rug would have been had it not been torn up. I believe Loki discovered this mark, was appalled at what his father was doing, and moved to start the fight that caused the castle and the throne room to turn to rubble. But right now, I'm still unsure if Harold's motives were purposefully malicious, or if the world government was tricking him. Either way, I still trust Loki the most out of the two of them. As we know, Loki hates celestial dragons and hates the world government. And with that, well, I have nothing else to say. I just can't believe it was really Gaban, and my god, do I love being right. What do you guys think? Did you jump in joy at seeing Gaban? Are you shiki truthers now hiding in your shells? I'm just kidding. I just knew in my heart it was Gaban, so you gotta let me have this. And woo, can Oda make some hot old men? Release your thoughts in the comments, but remember to just be nice to each other. We are civil in this book club. Please take note, I only read the officials, so these chapter videos will only coincide with the officials. I'd really appreciate it if everyone in the comments could respect this notion as well. If you'd like to see my chapter reactions in real time, you can join me on my Twitch or YouTube VOD channel. Please be aware they're a bit rambly because I get too excited about One Piece to collect myself in my live streams. With that being said, thank you and bye.